Hey Heidi, how's it going?
Hello? Oh, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. How's life?
How's your connection? Is it okay?
Yeah, connection is good now. I was actually having trouble at the beginning because I didn't have, I was like typing the wrong password.
Mm.
But right now everything's good to go. How was your day?
Today it's cool. It's very good.
That's awesome. Yeah, here it's
Tomorrow,
raining.
tomorrow is the national holiday in Japan.
Oh,
Sports,
really?
yeah, sports day.
Mm-hmm.
So now
It's
many places have some sport festival or competition.
uh-huh.
So the weather is very good, not hot and not cold.
So
Well,
as a result, the sports events will be able to, we can expect them to be on schedule without any problems, right?
yeah, yeah. So today is very good for sport festival.
Yeah, that's great. What kinds of sports are they going to have?
Mm, um, for example, in the school, sport festival,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
running or
Uh-huh.
some ball tossing or a lot of things.
Are they, I mean, are they going to have also like like the baseball and like all those sports as well, or
Not baseball, kind of gymnastic or
okay.
running or jumping, basic,
Hmm.
basic sport.
Interesting. That's good. That's really good. Um, which is, I think it's nice that we have days that, celebrate sports. I don't think in the US we have a dedicated day for sports, unfortunately.
Mm.
I think it's mainly that we just have days that we celebrate like sporting events, like we have the Super Bowl, big
Ah,
events
yes.
like that for that kind of stuff. But in any
When is
case,
the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl is usually the first Sunday in February.
Oh,
So
February.
yeah, it's always Super Bowl Sunday. So it's usually the first Sunday in February, and I like it. I think it's always a kind of a very fun event for everyone who likes football. So it's very fun to take part in that. The day after that Monday, it's very common for people to just take that day off.
Yeah, we can
And
see it on the live in the live.
you guys see it live as well?
Yes.
Nice. Nice. That's good. Fantastic. Hey, Murad, how's it going? Are you there, Murad?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good, good, good. Everything's going well on your end?
Same here. Thank
Nice.
God.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Um, so yeah, guys, today we're going to be discussing irregular plurals. And when we talk about irregular plurals, we look at examples of words that don't have the standard s ending at the end of at the end of their at the end of the word when we are making plurals, right? So before we do that, I'm going to start off with a question for you guys. And this question actually relates to the article that we're talking about. Maybe it's not so relevant for Heidi because Heidi's from Japan, but it might be relevant for Murad because I think people in Morocco and Mexico may see this as a trend. So I'll ask the question. I'll ask Heidi first. Heidi, do people in Japan or do people in Japanese culture consider fair skin to be more beautiful than, uh, let's say, darker skin?
Yes. Japanese proverb said, white skin can hide seven defects.
Hmm. And is it something that even, let's say, like there's a foreigner who's in Japan, right? Like, let's say I come to Japan, right?
Mm.
Obviously, I don't have fair skin, but what is their perception of people who have lighter skin over darker skin? Like, are lighter skinned people who are foreigners considered more beautiful than darker skinned people, or
Mm.
what do you
Uh,
think?
white skin is better. It's made only for female. The
Hmm.
male should have dark skin. It's better.
Really?
Yeah.
is that something that is kind of prevalent in Japan? People believe that way?
For Japanese people, white-skinned men are a little weird.
Really?
They're always inside like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I didn't know that. To a certain degree, I think that's true in other parts of the world, that men are not, skin color is not as important for men, but
Yeah.
we will see many examples of that actually in today's class when we talk more. Um, so yeah, thanks for sharing, Heidi. So Murad, what about you? Can you speak to the cultures that you know about?
Yes. From a Moroccan point of view, I can say that color does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
In Morocco, you can find white people, brown people, dark people, and it does not matter.
Mm-hmm. What about from maybe a female beauty perspective? Do you think, for let's say the models, right? So the models in many countries, for example, in Brazil, in Latin America, a lot of the models actually happen to be lighter skinned, right? Or for
Right.
example, in the magazines, in the media, we see lighter skinned presenters, lighter skinned singers, artists, right? Is this something that's also common to Morocco?
Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I've I've seen many models, yes,
Mm-hmm.
in Morocco that are very brown,
Mm-hmm.
light brown, light brown.
Light brown. Uh-huh.
Yes,
And what about in Mexico? Is the situation different?
I think in Mexico, fair-skinned people are advantaged,
Mm-hmm.
privileged
Mm-hmm.
than
And
dark-skinned people.
why do you think that, if you don't mind me asking?
Maybe because of the occupation that took place many years ago, or even centuries,
Mm-hmm. Because of
by Spanish
uh-huh.
colonies.
So
Yeah,
so because of the conquest by Spain, los mestizos, right? The people who are of mixed Indian. I
yeah.
shouldn't say Indian because I'm Indian myself, but mixed Native
Not
American.
Indian,
Yeah,
not
Native
Indian,
American,
indigenous.
indigenous. Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
And indigenous doesn't mean people from India.
Exactly. Which, unfortunately, I mean, when Christopher Columbus came to America, he thought he reached India. So we, as a result, are all labeled under Indians, you know, by mistake, or I guess as an artifact of history. Um, but yeah, so you have seen, for example, in the occupational space, Mexicans prefer lighter skin to darker skin.
Yes. And this is because I've seen many people, for example, governors,
Hmm.
are white-skinned, and even actors,
Hmm. And yeah,
famous actors.
for example, in the soap operas, right? If you watch las telenovelas,
Yes,
very few of them are darker skinned.
yes. You can see only the servants.
Uh-huh. The servants have much maybe like darker skin, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey,
On the
Gregory, how's
second row.
Hello, everybody. Hello,
oh
long time.
how's it going, guys? Sorry, Murad. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just said second row.
yeah, they have the
People
secondary
can,
role.
yes.
Uh-huh. Which is kind of sad, don't you think, Murad? That maybe there's an aspiring actress in Mexico who isn't very
Yes.
light-skinned, but it would be unusual for her to be in kind of the starring role, right?
I think it's very sad.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
sad too. And Gregory, I think you have an interesting perspective on this as well, maybe from your Russian and your Israeli background. So, what we are asking, Gregory, is skin color considered is fair skin color? So is having white skin as opposed to brown skin or black skin, are those considered is white skin considered more beautiful in your cultures? So we heard from Heidi, and Heidi said that in Japan, women should it's considered that women are more beautiful if they have lighter skin. For men, it doesn't matter. Murad shared with us that in Morocco, the society is a colorblind society. They don't care if you're brown or black. He's seen models who are white, light brown. But in Mexico, unfortunately, skin color is something that makes a difference, right? Makes a difference for beauty. What about Russia and Israel, Gregory?
About Russia, I remember Soviet Union. It was international uh, empire, and uh, despite of that, it was a lot of people in racism
Hmm.
by level
A lot of racist people.
racist people
Uh-huh.
by level of person, not process, but just person. Uh, in Israel, it's not matter at all. Uh, I cannot say people not pay attention of that. Yes, it's depend of person.
Hmm.
Someone not pay attention, someone yes pay attention.
Hmm.
I can't say it's like you say uh, white people and black people prefer. Uh, I think white people prefer white people and black prefer black people. Uh, you understand
Uh,
me?
uh-huh.
And you know what I've
Oh
noticed?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Murad.
People
Yeah.
people are not satisfied but with what they have. I've seen
Hmm.
people who are white would like to be dark and vice versa.
I'm glad I'm brown. I have both.
Yes.
See, like here, I'm like very light skinned, right?
Mm,
Here, I'm dark, so I have both.
I want to say Israel country in a lot of immigrants in
Hmm.
all the world. It's calls them Jewish, but all Jew who live in Brazil, who like Brazil, who live in Russia, like Russian, not only mentality, but uh, physical,
Hmm.
like Russian, and who live in Europe, like Europe. So it's all kind of people, and we don't have a lot of racism here.
Hmm. That's awesome, actually. And I think, I agree with a lot of what you said, Gregory. It is something that depends person to person. Unfortunately, some societies consider beauty and skin color, racism and skin color, as a very big thing. I mean, maybe nobody comes out and says, "Oh, black people are ugly," or "Girls that are models should be white." Maybe no one comes and says that, but it is part of the social understanding, the social. It's normal in their society to think that way, right? And the country that we are going to talk about is actually India. So I am very familiar with that culture, and I have seen myself how color conscious people in India are, especially for girls. Okay, for men, not so much. For men, if you have a good job, if you are a university graduate, if you have a nice car, you can get married very easily. You know, if you say you live in the United States or you live in England or you live in Europe or you live in a Western country, Western country, then it increases your chances of marriage by a very significant amount, right? You can be a girl who is a doctor, a PhD, very educated, but if you have darker skin, it is difficult in India to find somebody, to find a relationship, because India still, as a traditional society, the mother and father of the child usually take the lead in finding the wife or the husband. So nowadays, of course, the young people, their mentality is changing, but even with that mentality getting changed, skin color remains something that girls especially are very, very, very aware of, right? So we'll look at that in a little bit, guys. But before we move on, Any questions about what we talked about? Does anybody have questions for anybody else here in
But
class?
Indians have only dark color. There are many white skin, right?
Yeah, India has a large mix. Like my father is actually darker skinned. My mother is very light skinned. So when I was a child, I was very light skinned, like extremely light skinned. And then as I grew older, I turned darker. I don't know how. I mean, I think this is just part of how a lot of Indian children are the same way, actually. I don't know why, but we have a mix of both.
Yeah, I
So
know an Indian who is living in Japan.
yeah,
His skin is white,
yeah.
very tall, around 2 meters high.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. We have a good mix. I mean, India is such a large country, so many people, over 1 billion people. I mean, oh my God, like just thinking about if you are one in 1 million people in India, there are 1,000 people just like you. So being one in 1 million in India is still not something, overwhelmingly crazy, right? So anyway, guys, any questions about this conversation so far?
I remember in India, people was traditional, different levels.
Hmm.
I don't remember how it's called, but
The
high
caste
level
system, the caste system.
caste system. My question is, caste system now working or not?
So the caste system is actually legally abolished, which means it is illegal, right? So
Yeah.
the laws in the books in the Indian law code say that you cannot have caste system in the country. It's no longer available, right? But if you go to the poor people, the village people, the people who are not living in the city, they still consider caste very important. So, for example, there are 4 castes. If you're in the highest one, you can only marry people in that higher class, in that highest class, right? You can only marry people in your class. Really, that's how it works. But if you nowadays, young people don't care. They go and marry whoever they want. Sometimes they marry people in different religions. For example, India has Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, Christians, Jews, everybody. We have every religion, right? It's very common now in India for Muslims to marry Hindus. I mean, it happens. I mean, this is the 21st century. But
Only men.
I'm sorry, Murad?
This is allowed only for men, not women.
Well, Muslim women are marrying Hindu guys too. It's much more rare, but they're
If
doing
they
it.
convert.
Well, that's from the Islamic perspective, but
Yes.
India doesn't have any rules that say you have to be the man has to convert, right? India is a secular country.
I mean, the woman mustn't marry a man who is not Muslim.
Well, that's their option. I mean, we can't dictate what they're.
It's obligatory.
If they're religious, Murad. If they're not
Yes.
religious, then what are you going to do?
If they are religious.
Yeah, probably they're not religious, these people, right?
Maybe.
Or I don't know. I mean, it's not my right to say if they're religious or not. All I'm saying is that they do this, right? So this is something that happens. So you have a lot of different relationships now, regardless of religion, caste, and all those kinds of things. Which is why India is a very interesting situation. Yeah.
While we are the samurai warriors dominated in Japan,
Hmm.
it finished over 130 years ago. Then it's already removed, but that time we had a caste
System as well.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
4 level of people, but under 4 level, there are another level, to lowest level. Once you commit some crime,
Uh-huh.
they
The
are
Ronin.
that level. They are treated animal skin.
Were they known as the Ronin?
Hmm?
Were they known as the Ronin? That's
Not
how.
Ronin, not Ronin.
Not Ronin. Okay.
They were treated animal killing animal. They are selling animal.
Oh, so they were like the butchers.
Yes. It had
Uh-huh.
dirtiest job in Japan that time. No, now no problem.
Uh-huh.
Then that fifth level of people, as I said, it still remained. They are living
Uh-huh.
in a small place.
Yeah.
From the rule, we have no levels, but still people mind has such a level. So and that people can't get married. It's very difficult to look for some partner.
Yeah, it's sad because I think a lot of the caste system rules that we see in India, for example, the whole concept of marriage is really defined by your birth. The caste system is something you were born into. You can't change. So it doesn't matter if you're in the second class, in the second highest caste or the third highest caste. I mean, okay, only Hindus have caste. So I'm not Hindu. We don't have caste system, right? But they have lots of Hindus who are, religious Hindus. They really believe in the caste system. They believe that it's part of their, I mean, their future because, Hindus believe in reincarnation. They believe that when you die, you become something else. You are reborn as something else, right? So, for example, if you were a good person in this life, then maybe you will be reborn as a king or as someone very powerful. If you are a bad person in life, then you will be maybe reborn as a fly or as an insect, right?
Good,
So
good
that's that.
religion.
I mean, it makes people very aware of what they're doing, right? Which I think a lot of religions do. A lot of religions teach the same thing. But this is what makes Hinduism a little bit more very, very, very. Your class and your birth is extremely important, right? For the traditional people, I should say. If you talk to somebody my age in India, I don't think they care at all. If you talk to people my parents' age in India, I think they will definitely care. So that's why it's still relevant for us, I think. Like, if I want to get married, my parents are never going to say she can't be, you know, she can't be black or she can't be brown or she can't be white, right? They're not going to care. In fact, my girlfriend is light skinned anyway. She's much lighter skinned than me, so it doesn't matter. But it's something that is still a big concern. So, any questions, guys, before we go to the grammar part? I think we're okay. Okay, sounds good, guys. Let us know, though. I mean, let me know if you guys do have any questions as we run through the grammar. We are talking about irregular plurals. I think it's a simple lesson. I think you guys all understand irregular plurals. But when we have certain words in English, for example, we have words like man. What is the plural of man, Murad?
Men.
Men, exactly. And Heidi, what about for woman?
Women.
Women, right? What about child? Gregory.
Kids.
Well, kid, yeah, kid becomes kids. Fantastic. What about child?
Children.
Children.
Children, right? Fantastic. So child becomes children, which is a kind of a specific case. We don't usually see this in other examples, but child becomes children. And then what about for tooth? Heidi.
Teeth.
Tooth becomes teeth. Murad, what about goose?
Geese.
Geese, fantastic. And Gregory, what about foot?
Feet.
Feet, fantastic, right? So these three examples, the OO becomes an EE, right? Goose, geese, tooth, teeth, foot, feet, right? So we see that example with all three of these, right? And then we also have, so there are some that are just very different, right? If you look at, for example, words that end in FE, they turn into VE, right? So what about life? Life becomes
Lives.
lives. Lives, fantastic, Murad. Life becomes lives, right? What about wife? Wife becomes
Wives.
wives. Yeah, wife becomes wives. So very, very rarely do we see somebody saying, well, actually not very rarely. Some cultures, people do marry more than one wife. So you could say, my wives, or you can say, that's a party just for the wives, so no men, just the wives. And we can also use words such as many or much to talk about count and non-count nouns, right? So we use many for count nouns, right? So we can say there are many cars, there are many houses. What's another example of many in a sentence? Let's start with Gregory this time.
We have many rules in English.
We have many rules, huh? Fantastic, right? Because rule is a count noun. Heidi, another example of many.
There are many people gathered in the square.
There are many people gathered in the square. Fantastic, right? That's another example of many. And Murad, what about another one for many?
Many people.
Well, that's what Heidi said. Can we think of one more?
Okay, many persons.
Many persons. Okay, that works, right? There are many persons in line, right? You can say it that way, even though it's more common to say many people. What about for much? For much, we use for non-count nouns. Can we? Let's start with Murad for this one.
Much ice.
There is much ice on the roads today, right? What about Heidi? Another one for much.
Too much water caused the flood.
Too much water caused the flood, right? Fantastic. And Gregory, another one for much.
You put so much sugar in your tea.
Fantastic, right? Sugar, water, ice, blood, all of these are non-count nouns, right? And we use these a lot when it comes to descriptions. Hey guys, you guys going out?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just doing lessons now, so.
Okay.
All right, see.
I'll see you tomorrow.
No worries. Have a good one.
All right.
Take care. So I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, guys. I'm not at my house, so I was speaking to my friends. Yeah, I just flew down here today. So, okay, so we used much. We have water. We have things like blood. We have sugar, nouns that we can't count necessarily, right? We can also use sand and all those other examples. So, any questions on that so far, guys? Plurals and making count and non-count, using much and many for non-count and count. Any questions on that? Everything's good? Okay. The last thing I wanted to mention was we use a lot of, that phrase, a lot of, for both count and non-count nouns. So we can say, for example, there is a lot of water on the street today. Or we can say, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of I don't know, rooms in this hotel, right? So we can use both of those examples when it comes to, we can use both count and non-count when it comes to talking about what we can use a lot of for both count and non-count nouns. So that's the example. And, all right. Any questions on that last part? Is everyone okay?
I prefer a lot of, because it's always good.
Yeah, a lot of is exactly, because a lot of works for any of those examples, right?
Not mistake.
Exactly. It's not going to be a mistake if you use a lot of, because there are so many different ways to use a lot of for both count and non-count. So, okay, guys, let's get started with our lesson for today. Or not lesson, I'm sorry, with our article for today, if no one has any more questions. Let's say that, so we are going to, I'm going to paste the article here, and we can get started immediately. Let's see where my link is. Open article. Okay. So you guys should have it. It's a CNN article. I don't usually use CNN. I'm not a big fan of CNN, but I think this time they actually have a good piece to share. And I'm also going to screen share this article so that you guys can see it on my screen. Let me know if you guys have any questions opening it up. All right. Can everyone see it?
Yeah.
Okie doke.
Yes.
Murad?
Yes, I can see.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right. So we'll start at the beginning. White is beautiful. Why India needs its own Oprah Winfrey. Very interesting. India's skin coloring controversy. Tanupriya Khurana watches intently as her sister Bhavna gets a makeover at a designer cosmetics kiosk in the middle of one of Delhi's most popular malls, Select City Walk. Shades of velvety pink blush roll over Bhavna's olive cheeks. She holds up a mirror and inspects the results. Behind the kiosk, a clothing and lingerie store displays trendy fashions on mannequins with blonde hair, blue eyes, and milky white complexions. They look nothing like Tanupriya and her sister, or the hundreds of other Indians milling about this upscale shopping complex on a Sunday afternoon. Even the advertisements and store posters that use Indian faces promote a look that is unattainable for most Indians. Long, silky, straight hair, a tall, thin body, and most importantly, a fair complexion. The most popular Bollywood stars such as Aishwarya Rai, a former Miss World, look more white than Indian. Being white is the preference, says Tanupriya, 23, an insurance brokerage firm employee. There's a different psychology here. I think Indian women have problems with acceptance. Gori hai sundar, she says. White is beautiful. Khurana says this tongue-in-cheek. She knows it's racist and disagrees with this collective thinking. But she's right. As far back as I can remember, a woman's complexion has been a very big deal in my native land. When I was a child, my aunt forbade me to play outside lest I turn several shades darker in the sun. The same aunt lamented after one of my trips to Iraq that the strong sun had made me black. You used to be so pretty, she said. In other words, you used to be so light-skinned. Many Indians feel their country's disturbing obsession with fairness has been compounded in recent years with the invasion of European and American retail stores and widespread access to information via the internet. The discussion was reignited after Nina Davaluri, a woman of Indian descent, was crowned Miss America. Many here wondered, could someone as dark-complexioned as Davaluri win a pageant in the country of her heritage? Pratima Singh, the kiosk employee doing the makeover on Tanupriya's sister, says she often has clients who choose foundation or powder that is too light for them. They say they want to look like her, Singh says, pointing to a giant clothing ad featuring a white woman. But you can't camouflage what you are. Khurana agrees. That's the saddest thing in our country, she says, as her sister's face is transformed into Bollywood glamour. Looks, the color of skin. We should ignore such things. Should, yes, but even those here who do not dispute the new Miss America's beauty said this. A pageant or a Bollywood role is one thing, but when it comes to finding a bride for a beloved son, Davaluri, despite her stunning looks, would be too dark to make the cut. Sure enough, matrimonial ads in India, arranged marriages are still the way many young people choose to wed, often read like this: seeking match for beautiful, tall, fair girl. And those women who are the norm in India, that is, not light-skinned, are targeted by a $400 million skin whitening cream industry. It began years ago with a product called Fair and Lovely. So the rest of this article, it's a very long article, but what I think we got the gist of the article from this conversation. So I'm just going to review a few things because I want to make sure we all caught them from the article, right? So India has a multi-billion-dollar industry for a cream called Fair and Lovely. I have seen this cream myself. My sister has used this cream. My mother has bought this cream for her friends. And they have one called Fair and Handsome for men as well, right? You put this cream on your skin, and apparently it makes you lighter. I have never seen the results work for me, but apparently it makes you lighter, right?
Did you try it out?
I did try it out because just for fun, I wanted to see. It smells really
Yeah.
nice. It smells really nice, right?
Did you know that Fair and Lovely is very famous in Morocco?
Really?
Yes.
It's an Indian product, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. That's awesome that it reached Morocco as well. But
Yes.
is it something that the girls there use a lot?
Yes, especially very dark-skinned girls.
Uh-huh.
They do
Okay.
use it.
Yeah, so
Long time or short time?
it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be something that you apply regularly to maintain your skin
Yes.
color. Yeah, which is good for the company because people keep after buying it, right?
Yes,
People
they
have to
do.
continuously
Even in
buy it.
Japan, many females tend to buy the named
Uh-huh.
white lotion, white cream. But
Hmm.
recently, one of white lotion had a problem.
Really?
Women used that white lotion, their skin became kind of spotted.
Oh,
The
wow.
part is
What?
white, but it remained original color, like
Yeah,
double skin.
I
that's
think it
interesting.
does not work for everybody. It depends on the person, on
Hmm.
the complexion of the person.
Also, maybe the skin type, right?
Yes.
Because some
I think it
skin,
doesn't,
yeah.
especially oily skin. It does
Uh-huh.
not work for oily skin.
You know, Indian people have very oily skin on average. So
Yes.
I'm surprised maybe that there are maybe they sell a different kind of Fair and Lovely in Morocco outside of India.
And yeah, I've seen it. It works for some people.
Uh-huh.
It works for some girls. And they were
How do
very
you,
satisfied. And they even preferred it over another brand called Vichy. It's a French brand.
Uh-huh.
And this
Vichy.
one is very expensive. It's more expensive than Fair and Lovely. And
Uh-huh.
they prefer this one, Fair and Lovely.
Uh-huh. You know,
how
that's
in
funny.
India is it such
Yeah.
problem?
I'm sorry, Heidi, say that again?
How is in India? Do you have such a problem?
Me in India?
Skin became a double skin.
Me, I have not personally been told anything. I think people don't care because I'm not a girl. But I think with the girls, obviously, right? I think with the girls, they do care because that was the second part of this article that I think is so important. In this year, just a few weeks ago, an Indian girl won Miss America. Okay,
Yeah.
so and it was a big deal because I mean she's beautiful and she's very Miss America, but
What?
she's not white. She's not white. And so far, I mean, if you notice an Indian beauty contest, you see tall, skinny, really beautiful, lighter skinned girls, right? And I personally know Indian girls who are darker skinned who are gorgeous. One girl I went to high school with, very beautiful, but she has a darker skin, right? And as a result, I mean, she's not considered. I think she's beautiful, but if she goes to India, for example, her value, even though that's such a uh, such a bad word to use in this context, her value decreases because she's not light skinned, right?
Yeah. Because white lotion called double skin, it was the first time to hear. So
Hmm.
I wondered if your country has such problem.
I think definitely. I think India, Bangladesh. I mean, my parents are from Bangladesh specifically. I think the societies in both countries, as well as Pakistan, you can include all three countries. There are more light-skinned Pakistani people than dark-skinned Pakistani people because they're more northern. They have more Iranian, Middle Eastern features. Bangladeshis tend to be much darker. Naturally, they tend to be more darker, and Indians are kind of in the middle. South Indians are very dark. North Indians are very light-skinned. So you have a mix, really, all three of these countries, and it's fascinating because the young generation doesn't make as big a deal about this. The older generation and the traditional generation, young people are still people my age are still getting married. They're about to get married or they're getting married in the 2000s. In these years, their parents are still pressuring them. I think some mothers are pressuring their sons to marry lighter skinned girls, and that's what's unfortunate. So anyway, I've talked a lot, guys. I have questions for you guys. One of the things that this girl says in the article is you can't camouflage who you are. Okay, you can put as many shades of Fair and Lovely as you want on your skin. Can that actually increase your value for, let's say, to get married? Murad, what do you think?
I don't think so. Because it does not work in the long run. I mean, the person you're going or you're supposed to marry, he or she will find out. be it soon or later.
Hmm.
So it's good to be yourself
What if they see
at the very
photos?
beginning.
If they see photos of yourself
Yes,
before?
yes. And I think skin color does not matter.
Uh-huh.
What really matters is the skin type.
Uh-huh.
If you have a beautiful skin type, you are lucky.
Yeah.
Yes, this is what I think.
How many people think the same way you do?
I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're in the minority, my friend.
Really?
I think in India definitely you're in the minority.
So imagine a white-skinned person
Uh-huh.
has a very dry or too dry skin.
Hmm.
I'm sure it won't look very good.
Doesn't matter he's white.
It doesn't matter.
In India, it doesn't.
So what I mean
Honestly.
is the skin type,
Yeah.
be it oily or dry or normal.
Flaky, yeah. Some people have
Yes,
freckles. Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. Uh-huh.
yes.
I don't know. I think maybe because Indian people generally, I think we have nice skin. You know, I haven't really seen an Indian person who has freckles, spots, dry, flaky skin, things like that. Generally, we have nice skin. It's more oily, but we have nice skin. And I think Murad, your opinion is very noble, but so few people in India would agree with you, I think. The young generation would. But the older generation, I think, still has a long way to go. And maybe because they are so racist already, they may not be able to ever accept it, unfortunately.
And white skin has many disadvantages.
Hmm. Especially if,
It gets freckles
uh-huh,
soon,
much sooner, right? Yeah.
unlike dark skin.
Uh-huh. And also skin cancer, I think, affects people of lighter skin more, right?
Yes.
Hmm. Melanoma, I think, is a type of skin condition that affects lighter skin people more. Um, Heidi, what do you think about this phrase, you can't camouflage who you are? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. Um, about skin, Japanese skins are the same. Everybody's color is the same. If you compare the A and B, A is a little lighter like that. So, if I see the all Japanese people, the skin color is the same. But
Hmm.
getting tan causes some spot or stain. The Japanese people are afraid of that. So
Hmm.
they want to wrap the UV cream or want to hide
Hmm.
from the sunlight.
That makes sense, right? So yeah, UV cream especially is used if we are being exposed to sunlight, maybe you're on the beach, maybe you're sunbathing, right? In those instances, we want to use UV ray or UV cream to really protect ourselves from any situation that could be damaging skin or damaging our skin from the rays of the sun, right? Light-skinned people put on sunscreen, cream on their noses, for example, uh, because it's something that they want to protect themselves from. Gregory, what do you think about this phrase? You can't camouflage who you are.
I agree with this phrase. You can camouflage who you are. But about skin, I remember in Russia a lot of people go to make tan,
Hmm.
suntan, and women think it's very beauty. Dark skin is very beauty. For Russian who lives in north, uh, white at all. So they think it's beautiful to be dark. And in Israel, the same situation. A lot of people going to the beach to make sun tan and think it's beautiful.
Hmm.
About racism, I can say something. Uh, I'm not racist, but when people married, I understand nation is very important because when you build uh, family relationship, all small part important. in family relationship between husband and his wife, and different mentality maybe play big role in when people deep in love. It's not important skin or nation, but for building family, maybe it's very important for you.
You
And
know, I think that's a very, very, very valid point. I like the fact that you mentioned family because, you know, this is a consideration on the part of the parents in India, right? I think the parents in India, when they say, for example, light skin is preferred to dark skin, or light skin is better than dark skin, it may be because they are thinking about their grandchildren and they're thinking about the other generations because Indian society is not a society that can change overnight, unfortunately. Even the young people, maybe because they are pressured by the older generation to believe certain ways, they will also may not immediately embrace this equal vision, everybody is equal, right? I think they will still look to the Angelina Jolie and the blonde-haired, blue-eyed women as very beautiful.
no. I think it's not in level. It's the same level of big society, small society. No,
uh-huh,
I think about how build family, and
hmm
it's for example, husband Muslim and wife Jewish.
hmm
Uh, when people in love, but it's different habits. Okay, wife can go to Muslim religion, but it's different habits. We have a lot of habits from our nation, you see,
hmm
and after that it's very difficult. Maybe it's not. Maybe people can overcome this, but it's maybe very hard.
I see. Yeah, no, Gregory, that makes a lot of sense now. Even more important than skin color are these considerations, right? For a couple when it comes to family building, right?
Yes, yes.
The considerations like religion, background, culture, those things are much more important than skin color, right?
Because this I want for my children and my nephews uh, the same nation, not nation, the same, how I can say it, we have society, Jews from Russia. So I want for them married to Jews from Russia
hmm
because I think it's closest mentality.
hmm
mentality.
Yeah, you know, that makes a lot of sense. And India, that's another level of complexity, right? India, you have the skin color issue, and you also have all of these religions, all of these cultures, all of these languages, right? In India, 25 official languages, right?
Literal.
In one country, 25 languages. Just official languages, thousands of dialects, right? Out of the 25, I understand four.
Four, only
I
four.
understand. I understand four of the 25. I can speak two of them. I understand four of them, right? I even completely I cannot understand or speak the other two. Just understand, right? That's how confusing a society it is. People from the East marrying people from the South, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jews. I mean, everybody. You know, it's a very crazy country dealing with a lot of these issues. Um, Murad, what do you think about this concept that I think Greg brought up is very important about this idea of family building, right? How do we get children, the next generation, to not have the racist attitudes of their parents? Is that possible? Let's focus on this last question for the remaining of the time.
Yes, it's possible.
Uh-huh.
It's possible to educate your children
hmm And how
and
so?
guide
How
them
can
to
we,
the right path.
how do we do that kind of education, Murad?
we have to convince them that everybody is equal from the beginning, from the point when they start to rationalize things, when they start to think. We have to convince them, to persuade them that everybody is equal. And what really matters is our morals, not our looks. This is what I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Is it difficult to teach this to children, Heidi? Do you think this would be difficult to teach to children?
Yeah, I think so. Because people have some stereotypes. Indians like that, Chinese like that. It connects some racism.
It does, and I think it's very interesting for people who come from an immigrant society. So, Gregory, for example, I think Israel and the United States, in many ways, we have a similar understanding because children who grow up here, right? Children who grow up in the U.S., if you are a child growing up right now, we have a black president. Everything is, no one cares. Races are everywhere, right? So you have black, you have white, you have Indian, you have Chinese, you have Japanese, you have Mexican, you have every nationality is available. Has famous, celebrities. They are known in the society, right? So
America is a diversity country, but
yeah,
depending on the country, it's much different.
So other countries it would be much more different, right? Like for example, maybe in Japan it would be very different because everybody is Japanese.
Yes.
Right? Gregory, what's your idea? Maybe you've done this with your own children, or maybe growing up in Israel they didn't need to. How do we teach children to be open-minded and not be racist?
I think nowadays children teach their parents. Yes, because parents want to marry them someone, and children say no. I want married for love, and it's not matter what you want to me. And it happened a lot of cases when children go what they want, and parents accept it.
So the children are teaching the parents. I like that idea.
It's happened. It's real.
Yeah, I think it's happening. It's happening in India a lot. It's happening a lot in India, I think, because you have people marrying different religions, marrying different skin color, and the parents. It's difficult for the parents. Absolutely, it's very difficult because they have expectations, right, for their children. They believe that their children are going to listen to them, right? But sometimes children don't listen. Sometimes it's good that they don't listen because if the parents are imposing themselves on something that is regarding something that is unfair, if the parents are teaching their kids, like we heard from Murad, if the parents are teaching the kids that skin color is more important than morals, then the child should resist that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not always a bad thing, but it's difficult for the parents. Absolutely. I think for my family also, it will be difficult when if someone has said something like this. So Heidi just left, but any questions, you guys? I have another class starting right now, but do we have any questions about either irregular verbs or this article?
No. Thank you for class.
You're welcome, Gregory. Thank you for being here.
I just can say that I like this article.
You like it a lot?
Yes.
Nice, yeah.
It's very interesting.
It's something that I think I had no idea that Fair and Lovely has expanded to Morocco.
Really? It's very famous.
I thought it was just in India.
It's famous for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe more. It's very famous.
And the girls there are using it, and for some, it's working and they're liking it.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
One of my family members used to use it.
And she liked it?
Yeah. Yes.
That's awesome. You guys are making a lot of money in all over Morocco, I think.
But it's very cheap,
Yeah, yeah. But if it's effective, I guess it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, Murad. It was a pleasure once again. If you want to join me in my next class, feel free. Otherwise, have a great rest of the night.
Okay, thank you very much.
Take care, Murad. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Hey, Heidi, how's it going?
Hello? Oh, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. How's life?
How is your connection? Is it okay?
Yeah, connection is good now. I was actually having trouble at the beginning because I was like typing the wrong password. But right now everything's good to go. How was your day?
Today it's cool. It's very good.
That's awesome. Yeah, here it's
Tomorrow,
raining.
tomorrow is the national holiday in Japan.
Oh,
Sports,
really?
yeah, sport day.
Mm-hmm.
So now
It's
many places have some sport festival or competition.
uh-huh.
So the weather is very good, not hot and not cold.
So
But
as a result, the sports events will be able to we can expect them to be on schedule without any problems, right?
yeah. So today is very good for sport festival.
Yeah, that's great. What kinds of sports are they going to have?
Mm, um, for example, in the school, sport festival,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
running or
Uh-huh.
some ball tossing or a lot of things.
I mean, are they going to have also like like the baseball and like all those sports as well, or
Not baseball, kind of gymnastic or
okay.
running or jumping,
Mm-hmm.
basic basic sport.
Interesting. That's good. That's really good. Um, which is, I think it's nice that we have days that, celebrate sports. I don't think in the US we have a dedicated day for sports, unfortunately. I think it's mainly that we just have days that we celebrate like sporting events, like we have the Super Bowl, big
Ah,
events
yes,
like that for. Hmm. And yeah,
Famous actors.
for example, in the soap operas, right? If you watch las telenovelas,
Yes,
very few of them are darker skinned.
yes. You can see only the servants.
Uh-huh. The servants have much maybe like darker skin, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey,
On the
Gregory, how's
second row.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
oh
Fine.
how's it going, guys? Sorry, Murad. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just said second row.
yeah, they have
They
the
put
secondary
their
role.
yes.
Uh-huh. Which is kind of sad, don't you think, Murad? That maybe there's an aspiring actress in Mexico who isn't very
Yes.
light-skinned, but it would be unusual for her to be in kind of the starring role, right?
I think it's very sad.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
sad too. And Gregory, I think you have an interesting perspective on this as well, maybe from your Russian and your Israeli background. So, what we are asking, Gregory, is skin color considered is fair skin color? So, is having white skin as opposed to brown skin or black skin, are those considered is white skin considered more beautiful in your cultures? So we heard from Heidi, and Heidi said that in Japan, women should. It's considered that women are more beautiful if they have lighter skin. For men, it doesn't matter. Murad shared with us that in Morocco, the society is a colorblind society. They don't care if you're brown or black. He's seen models who are white, light brown. But in Mexico, unfortunately, skin color is something that makes a difference, right? Makes a difference for beauty. What about Russia and Israel, Gregory?
About Russia, I remember
Say, darker skin.
yes. Japanese proverb said, white skin can hide seven defects.
Hmm. And is it something that even let's say like there's a foreigner who's in Japan, right? Like let's say I come to Japan, right?
Mm.
Obviously I don't have fair skin, but what is their perception of people who have lighter skin over darker skin? Like are lighter skinned people who are foreigners considered more beautiful than darker skinned people or What do you think?
White skin is better. It's made only for female. The
Hmm.
male should have dark skin. It's better.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that something that is kind of prevalent in Japan? People believe that way?
For Japanese people, white skin men are a little weird.
Really?
They're always inside like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I didn't know that. To a certain degree, I think that's true in other parts of the world, that men are not, skin color is not as important for men,
Yeah.
but we will see many examples of that actually in today's class when we talk more. Um, so yeah, thanks for sharing, Heidi. So Murad, what about you? Can you speak to the the cultures that you know about?
Yes, from a Moroccan point of view, I can say that color does not matter.
Hmm.
In Morocco, you can find white people, brown people, dark people, and it does not matter.
Hmm. What about from a maybe a female beauty perspective? Do you think for let's say the models, right? So the models in many countries, in for example, in Brazil, in Latin America, a lot of the models actually happen to be lighter skinned, right? Or for
Yeah.
example, in the magazines, in the media, we see lighter skinned presenters, lighter skinned singers, artists, right? Is this something that's also common to Morocco?
Not necessarily.
Hmm.
I've I've seen many models, yes,
Hmm.
in Morocco that are very brown,
Hmm.
light brown, light brown.
Light brown. Uh-huh.
Yes,
And what about in Mexico? Is the situation different?
I think in Mexico, fair-skinned people are advantaged,
Hmm.
privileged
Hmm.
than
And
dark-skinned people.
why do you think that, if you don't mind me asking?
Maybe because of the occupation that took place many years ago, or even centuries,
Hmm. Because
by
of
Spanish
uh-huh.
colonies.
So
Yeah,
so because of the conquest by Spain, los mestizos, right? The people who are of mixed Indian. I
yeah.
shouldn't say Indian because I'm Indian myself, but mixed Native
Not
American.
Indian,
Yeah,
not
Native
Indian,
American,
indigenous.
indigenous. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And indigenous doesn't mean people from India.
Exactly. Which, unfortunately, I mean, when Christopher Columbus came to America, he thought he reached India. So we, as a result, are all labeled under Indians, by mistake, or I guess as an artifact of history. Um, but yeah, so you have seen, for example, in the occupational space, Mexicans prefer lighter skin to darker skin.
Yes. And this is because I've seen many people, for example, governors,
Hmm.
are white-skinned, and even actors.
Or that kind of stuff. But in any
When is
case.
this held Super Bowl?
Super Bowl is usually the first Sunday in February.
Oh,
So
February.
yeah, it's always Super Bowl Sunday. So it's usually the first Sunday in February, and I like it. I think it's always a kind of a very fun event for everyone who likes football. So it's very fun to take part in that. The day after that Monday, it's very common for people to just take that day off.
Yeah, we can
And
see it on the live in the live.
you guys see it live as well?
Yes.
Nice. Nice. That's good. Fantastic. Hey, Murad, how's it going? Are you there, Murad?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good, good, good. Everything's going well on your end?
Same here. Thank
Nice.
God.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Um, so yeah, guys, today we're going to be discussing irregular plurals. And when we talk about irregular plurals, we look at examples of words that don't have the standard s ending at the end of their at the end of the word when we are making plurals, right? So before we do that, I'm going to start off with a question for you guys. And this question actually relates to the article that we're talking about. Maybe it's not so relevant for Heidi because Heidi's from Japan, but it might be relevant for Murad because I think people in Morocco and Mexico may see this as a trend. So I'll ask the question. I'll ask Heidi first. Heidi, do people in Japan or do people in Japanese culture um, consider fair skin to be more beautiful than, let's